Hello friends, in this lecture we are going to discuss about the literary terms. As we all know, literary terms are used by the writers to enhance the beauty of their piece of work of art, whether it is a poetry, a novel and a drama. In this lecture we will discuss various literary terms like allegory, alliteration, allusion, assonance, diction, dramatic monologue, fable, hyperbole, imagery, irony, metaphor, simile, onomatopoeia, oxymoron, and paradox. Every writer make use of these literary terms in their work, in their literature. So, let's begin with our first literary term, which is allegory. An allegory is a kind of narrative in which the story operates at two levels. One is simple story, but it has its reference to another story, which has a mythological, historical, or cultural reference. A person can understand and enjoy one story without knowing the other. But if he knows the other reference, if he knows the other story, his enjoyment of the simple story increases. For example, in the novel Kanthapura, written by Raja Rao, the Katha of Jayaram Char is an allegory, is an example of allegory. He tells the story of Brahma and his daughter and the demons. But if we know that here he is referring to India as the daughter of Brahma, English people as the demons, and Gandhiji is the Brahma's representative who will free India from the demons, then the enjoyment of the readers definitely increases. After allegory, we are moving to the next literary term, which is alliteration. In alliteration, the initial sound in neighboring words are repeated. This repetition creates a poetic effect. For example, in one of the famous poems of Wordsworth, writes and sings a solitary song. And sings a solitary song. Here, sir sound is repeated for three times. Sir sound is repeated for three times. And in the next line, that whistles in the wind. Were sound is repeated for two times. In the first line, and sings a solitary song, sir sound is repeated for three times. And in the next line, that whistles in the wind, were sound is repeated for the two times. And they are being repeated for the enhancing the beauty of the poem. Wordsworth has used it for enhancing the beauty of his poem. Alliteration also means the repeating of the same letter or sound at the beginning of words, following each other immediately or at short intervals. A famous example is to be found in the two lines by Tennyson: the moans of doves in immemorial elms and murmuring of innumerable bees. In the same way, we find alliteration in these lines. For example, in the first line, sweet smell of success. Sweet smell of success. Here you find that sir sound is repeated for three times. Sweet smell of success. Sweet sir, smell sir of success. Success sir. So sir sound is repeated for three times. A dime a dozen. A dime a dozen. Here first sound of dime, d, dozen, d. So d is repeated for two times. Bigger and better. Bigger and better. Here again b sound is repeated for two times. Jump for joy. Jump for joy. J sound is repeated for two times. Jump for joy. So in these four lines, sweet smell of success, a dime a dozen, bigger and better, jump for joy. In the first line, sir. In the second line, d. In the third line, b. And in the fourth line, j. These sounds are repeated again and again for enhancing the beauty of a work of art. In The Death of the Hired Man, Robert Frost, he begins the poem like Mary sat musing on the lamp flame at the table, waiting for Varen when she heard his step. Waiting for Varen when she heard his step. So in the second line, waiting for Varen when she heard his step, verse sound is repeated for three times. So these are the examples of alliteration. After going deep into the alliteration, next let's move to the next literary term, which is allusion. Allusion is a brief reference to a person, event, or place, real or fictitious, or to a work of art, casually reference to a famous historical or literary figure or event. An allusion may be drawn from history, geography, literature, religion, or politics. For example, an allusion can be found in these lines of Kanthapura when the narrator says, "And Rama will come back from exile, and Sita will be with him. For Ravana will be slain, and Sita freed, and he will come back with Sita on his right in a chariot of the air. And the brother Bharat will go to meet them with the worshipped sandal of the master on his head. And as they enter Ayodhya, there will be a rain of flowers." As we all can see the similarity between these two stories. Here in the novel Kanthapura, Raja Rao deliberately make use of the illusion of Ramayana. Here he gives a brief reference of the story of the Ramayana or the characters of the Ramayana. After allusion, let's move to the next literary term, which is assonance. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds. For example, in chapter 18th of Kanthapura, the narrator says, as assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds, consonance is the repetition of consonant sounds, and it is the subcategory of alliteration. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds, and consonance is the repetition of consonant sounds in a nearby line or words. For example, in chapter 18th of Kanthapura, when the narrator says, and the canal burnt beyond which 3,000 men are shrieking and slaying, weeping, wounding, groaning, crawling, swooning, vomiting, bellowing, mourning, raving, and gasping. For example, you can see how the vowel sounds are repeating again and again in this very line. I am reading it again. 1,000 men are shrieking, slaying, weeping, wounding, groaning, crawling, swooning, vomiting, blowing, moaning, raving, and gasping. So, in the very line, the writer is repeating the vowel sounds again and again, and this is an example of assonance. After assonance, diction. Diction is the choice of language used by the writer or the speaker. For example, the diction of Kanthapura is that of a storytelling. It is fast and is like the story told by a grandmother. He maintains a connection between sentences by using the word and a number of times, and every writer used different types of diction. Different types of diction used by different writers. After diction, dramatic monologue. A dramatic monologue is a type of poetry written in the form of a speech of an individual character. Basically, it is a kind of poetry, it is a form of a poetry, it is a new form of poetry, and Robert Browning was the master of these kind of poetry. There are the following three features of the dramatic monologue. First one is, there is only one single speaker, one single person, one single speaker. There is only one single speaker who is not the poet himself, utters the speech that makes up the whole of the poem in a specific situation at a critical moment. Only one single person, or you can say narrator, or you can say uh, and a character who is not the poet himself utters the speech that makes up the whole of the poem in a specific situation at a critical moment. And this person addresses and interacts with one or more other peoples or one or more other listeners, but we don't know about the listener or uh, people. But if we know of the listener's presence or their movements, what they say or do, only from the clues in the speech of the single speaker given by the speaker to us, to the readers. The main principle behind the dramatic monologue is to reveal to the reader, in a way that enhances its interest, the speaker's temperament and character. One of the most important influences on the development of the dramatic monologue is romantic poetry. The novel and plays have also been important influences on the dramatic monologue, particularly as a means of characterization. Dramatic monologues are a way of the views of a character and offering the audience greater insight into the greater character's feelings. As we read, that dramatic monologue is a kind of poetry which is different from the other forms of poetry. In this kind of poetry, there is only a single speaker who is not the poet himself utters the speech that makes up the whole of the poem. And in this poem, we get to know about the listener's presence only from the clues in the speech by the single speaker. After dramatic monologue, next literary term is fable. A fable is a literary genre, a fictional story in prose or verse that features animals, legendary creatures, plants, inanimate objects, or forces of nature, such as the ability to speak human language and illustrates or leads to a particular moral lesson. For example, uh, the Animal Farm, written by George Orwell, is the famous example of fable in which pigs are playing the main role of the story. They are playing the main role in the novel. Or in the novel Kanthapura, Range Gowda says, "And I was not with the jackals, but with the deer." And a little later, he again says, "So it may be, but the Red Man government is no swan in a Himalayan lake." After doing fable, we are moving to the next literary term, which is hyperbole. A hyperbole is exaggeration or overstatement, exaggeration of something. Here, the things are exaggerated. For example, in chapter 5th of Kanthapura, the tongues of some women are described as being as long as a snake. How women's tongues are as long as a snake? This is impossible. But this is the example of hyperbole. Means you are exaggerating something. You are exaggerating the tongues of women. In chapter 9th, Bhatt thinks this about Venkama, and what with her tongue and her tail she will set fire where we want. Another example is when we meet some friend in daily routine life and we say we are not met from ages. What do you mean by from ages? We are not here for for ages. So this is an example of hyperbole. Another literary term is imagery. Usually, it is thought that imagery makes use of particular words that create visual representation of ideas in our minds. The word imagery is associated with mental pictures. In short, we can say that imagery is a picture made of words. Imagery is a picture made of words. In Kantapura, the writers say about Bhatt, and at the I quote, and at the thought of Inkama, an idea came into his head like a cart light in the dark. So here an imagery comes into the mind of reader. Another example from Kantapura, when Kama arrives, important as a buffalo, and she says. So again, one another imagery creates in the minds of reader. After doing imagery, we are moving to the next literary term, which is irony. Irony is an implied discrepancy between what is said and what is meant. Discrepancy between what is said and what is meant means the difference between what is saying and what is the meaning of the what is said. The use of words to convey the opposite of their literal meaning. A statement or situation where the meaning is contradicted by the appearance or the presentation of the idea. There are mainly three kinds of irony. First, verbal irony. Verbal irony is when an author says one thing and means something else. Means author is saying something else and his meaning is something else. Another type of irony is dramatic irony. Dramatic irony occurs when an audience perceives something that a character in the literature does not know. Means the character is not character does not know what is happening, but the audience knows. And third type of irony is situational irony, or you can say irony of situation. Irony of situation is a discrepancy between the expected result and the actual result. Means the opposition of the result, expected result and actual result. In Kanthapura, the villagers who want to take loan from Bhatt call him by pleasing names such as benefactor, saint, and etc. But in their hearts, they know that Bhatta is a shrewd and greedy moneylender. Means by heart, they believe that Bhatt is a greedy person, greedy moneylender, but before him, they call him by their pleasing names such as benefactor and saint. Secondly, this is the example of verbal irony. Secondly, Bhatt wants to bring Venkama to his side. He arranges the marriage of her daughter. Venkama calls him a great and kind man. She doesn't know that he is being selfish in this matter. This is an example of dramatic irony, and we find another example of dramatic irony in Kantapura when the villagers are eagerly waiting for the Murthy. They are waiting for Murthy, but the police has already taken him away in the car. So these are the examples of irony, different kinds of irony: verbal irony, dramatic irony, and situational irony. After irony, we are moving to the next literary term, metaphor. A metaphor, a metaphor and a simile. Both literary terms are used for the comparisons, but between two unlike things. They both are used for comparing the things, but there is a difference between in their usage. In a simile, the comparison is made using words as like and as. But in metaphor, we do not use such words. For examples, if we say she is beautiful like the moon, she is beautiful like the moon, we are using the word like here. We are comparing two things, the girl and moon. By using the word like, it becomes the simile. But when we say that she is moon of the city, it becomes metaphor. How? Because in this sentence we do not use the word like and as. Again in Kanthapura, when the narrator says the darkness grows thick as sugar in cauldron, this is an example of simile, as the writer has used as in this line. And the example of metaphor in Kanthapura is as, what is a policeman before a Gandhi's man? Tell me, does a boar stand before a lion or a jackal before an elephant? Here, boar and jackal are metaphors for Badi Khan, the policeman, and lion and elephant are metaphors used for Mahatma Gandhi. Metaphors are used to help us understand the unknown, because we use what we know in comparison with something we don't know to get a better understanding of the unknown. Simile, as we have discussed, that simile and metaphor both are used for the comparison between two unlike things, but there is an essential difference between their usage. For example, in simile, the comparison is made using the words as, like and as, and in metaphors we do not use these types of words. As we discussed the example, she is beautiful like the moon, in this is an example of simile, because in this sentence we have used the word like. But if we say she is the moon of the city, this becomes metaphor, because in this sentence we do not use the word like and as here. Let's move to the next literary term, which is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is a word which imitates the natural sounds of a thing. It creates a sound effect that mimics the thing described. It makes the description more expressive and interesting. For example, if we say the gushing stream flows in the forest, is more meaningful in description than just saying the stream flows in the forest. The reader is drawn to hear the sound of a gushing stream, which makes the expression more effective. For example, here are various examples of onomatopoeia. For example, the buzzing bee flew away. The buzzing bee flew away. The sound buzzing sound is here. The buzzing sound of bees are here. The sack fell into the river with a splash. Here, the splash sound of river, the splash sound of water. The sack fell into the river with a splash sound here. The books fell on the table with a loud thump. What sound is here? Thump sound of filling the books. Thump sound full. After that, he looked at the roaring sky. He looked at the roaring sky. What sound is here? Roaring. Uh, roaring sound of the sky. Roaring sound of the sky. After that, the rustling leaves kept me awake. Which sound is here? Rustling leaves. Rustling sound of leaves. After that, we have hissing sound. Hissing sound of what? Hissing sound of snake. Snake hissing sound of snake does like hiss sound, so hissing sound of snake. So onomatopoeia is a word which imitates the natural sounds of the things. After onomatopoeia, We are moving to the next literary term, which is oxymoron. In an oxymoron, two contradictory words are put together to create a literary effect. Two contradictory words. For example, hot ice, cold fire, wise fool, sad joy, almost exactly, eloquent silence, truthful lawyer, honest politicians, happily married. So these are the examples of oxymoron. For example, in the first pair, hot ice. How can ice be hot, and how hot can be icy? So in the second pair, how cold can be fire, and how fire can be cold? Again, in the third uh, pair, how a person can be wise and fool both? How can be a fool be wise and wise be fool? How can a person be both sad and joy at the same time? He can be sad or joy, but how can be sad joy? So, almost exactly, eloquent silence, truthful lawyers, honest politicians, happily married, these are the examples of oxymoron. After oxymoron, paradox. A paradox reveals a kind of truth which at first seems contradictory. Basically, two opposing ideas or phrases. For example, stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Basically, a paradox is similar to oxymoron. In Kanthapura, it is a paradox when a policeman, Bade Khan, leaves his cruelty, comes to the temple, and sings bhajan along with the other freedom fighters. Secondly, at the time of marriage of Venkama's daughter, everyone is anxious to see the bridegroom. But when he comes, they find that he is middle-aged man. Two of his front teeth are missing. So these are the examples of paradox in the novel Kanthapura. After finishing the literary terms, we are moving to the next question answer slide. In the practice, we have four different questions which you will definitely going to get in your examinations, in your papers. First is, what is the difference between metaphor and simile? Second is, what is the difference between consonant and assonance? Third is, what is difference between verbal irony and dramatic irony? Fourth is, what is difference between oxymoron and paradox? So let's recapitulate the first one, metaphor. What is the difference between metaphor and simile? As we already know, as we already discussed about it, that metaphor and simile both are used for comparing two unlike two dissimilar things, but there is a difference between their usage. In a simile, the comparison is made by using the word like and as, and in metaphor we do not use such words. For example, she is beautiful like the moon is an example of simile, because in this sentence we use the word like. But if we say she is the moon of the city, it becomes metaphor, because we have not used the word like and as here. Second question, what is the difference between consonant and assonance? As we already discussed, that assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds and consonance is the repetition of consonant sounds. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sound and consonance is the repetition of consonant sound. What is the difference between verbal irony and dramatic irony? We already discussed that there are three kinds of irony: verbal irony, dramatic irony, and situational irony. And in verbal irony happens when an author says one thing and means something else. It means he wants to say something else and the meaning is something else. And in the dramatic irony, when an audience perceives something that a character in literature doesn't know. Last question: what is the difference between oxymoron and paradox? Oxymoron and paradox is similar to each other. A paradox is similar to oxymoron. But in oxymoron, two contradictory words are put together to create a literary effect. In oxymoron, two contradictory words are put together to create a literary effect. But in paradox, two opposing ideas and to put together to create a literary effect. So we are finishing our lecture. We have done various literary terms which we are going to get in our examination. Best of luck.